Welcome back. One more video. Oh man, this manual focus stuff. I gotta get a better camera. Okay, so I got the flaps hinges cut out, and I glued in the hinges into the flap. I started with the two outside hinges. Made sure they were perfect, or the best I could. I tried a couple little goofy techniques, but I kind of talked about it in the last video. But I'll show you guys again. So here's kind of what I got. So from the last video, I glued the two outer ones in, made sure they were perfect, and that the flap would. So I basically clamped the hinge into this bar and made sure the flap worked perfect. And then I put these two in, center two, and then I did the same thing with them. Kind of got them best I could, and then I clamped them in, and as you can see, they're perfectly set. They're all dry now. I just haven't taken them out of the jig to glue into the actual wing. So that'll make life a lot easier, having them hard set, perfect in the flap itself. So I hope. But while I was letting that dry, I started looking at some tank stuff. So I typically use BVM's high flow stuff in everything. I'm like, unless it's like something small like an X-45 kind of size jet. But I typically don't have issues with motors because I overdo my vent side, my fuel side, just because it doesn't really hurt. And it keeps pump pressures down, and things just seem to work smoother. So I like high flow on anything 160 and above. I know you don't need it. I don't care. That's what I like. So I use BVM's high flow stuff, and they have their little fittings that you glue into the tank. Well, the problem was I didn't realize it, but the King Tech, or gosh, I keep saying King Tech, but it's the same thing. Well, one and the same. So T1. Their fittings are much larger diameter, so they had already cut the tanks for their bushing that you glue into the tank that has the threads on it. So I was like, ah, crap, and I gave away the other ones, because didn't want to use them in this build. I used them in the first one. There's nothing wrong with them. They're just not as big. This is their high flow version, and it's just not as big as I like. Probably would work. I mean, I know it works fine for this size motor, but anyways, I'd given them away because I didn't need them. So what I'm going to do is, thanks to the Army and them caring about my chicken nuggets, I have some Kevlar. So this used to be a groin protector back in the day when people were getting blown up by IEDs. The Army spent a lot of money on trying to protect the soldiers, so they come up with all these crazy body armor things, and this was inserts that you could put in your body armor, and then I even had Kevlar underwear. But this particular piece, somehow, when I retired and out-processed from, SAF, you turn on all your gear, and then there's stuff that either fell off your records, they didn't want anymore, or whatever, but this is one of the things that I got to keep, and it's Kevlar. So I cut it open, and I'm going to patch the holes with some Kevlar. So I'm just going to use Z-epoxy finishing resin here, just to do the tanks. You can kind of see here, I've already sanded them, cleaned them with some denatured alcohol and everything, kind of roughed them up. These tanks are horribly laid up. They normally don't have a problem with their tanks, but I mean, you can see, like this corner here, it's like they did the Kevlar tank, and then they wrapped it with like some thin, like half-ounce or 1 ounce cloth over it, because you can see there's like a big bubble here on the corner, and it's just where they put cloth, like some type of, like the stuff that you can like, cover like a foam, like a balsa plane, like they do like the warbirds. So I don't know why they did that. Possibly, I don't know why, honestly, but I'm going to make sure, just because there's such so many imperfections in these tanks. Like, these are horribly laid up, man. The last ones weren't like this. Even the kit I had before this wasn't this bad. So I'm going to make sure there's no holes in these for sure. Typically do that anyways, but so I got 3 holes to plug, and I'm just going to use I'm going to change the camera here just so you can kind of see. Let's see if I can get a spot for you guys. One of these days I'll get like a nice little setup going here once I get all my cabinetry and stuff in. I have to get a truck first. I got rear-ended while pulled over on the side of the road and destroyed my truck. And of course they only give you a fraction of what it's actually worth. So anything I get with my truck, the miles my truck had on it, I'm gonna have to put probably $20,000 to $40,000 on top of it just to pay it off or pay for it, which kind of sucks, but oh well. So I'm just I got these little cups. They're for mixing up stuff, and they have they're marked. I'm just going to do half and half. So we go 4 ounces, or half an ounce as it says here. Bum, bum, bum. One of these little acid brushes, man. Harbor Freight has these in like a pack of like 50 for a few bucks. So I bought like 4 packs of them, man. Can't ever have enough acid brushes. I probably should have measured this and weighed this. But because these cups already have like measurements on them, made it a little bit easier. So just kind of mixing it here. Yeah, it's nice to have a shop finally. I mean, this has been like a 3-year pain in the butt because COVID and all that stuff. It dang thing nearly tripled in cost. But I finally got it done. The hold up, it seemed like what took the longest was waiting on brick. It took like 13 months to get brick for the place. And then once I got brick, it was kind of on me at that point because the inside has to be done. The builder doesn't do the inside, he just does the outside. So I did a little bit, and then it got really hot, and I kind of put everything on hold until after Georgia Jets. And as soon as Georgia Jets was done, I just left everything, packed everything up in my trailer, and started finishing the inside. So I did all the wiring myself, put the AC stuff up. I had a buddy come in and kind of do the servicing on it, and then I did the insulation, which was rough, man. I ain't gonna lie, insulation was rough. So I'm just gonna take some of this, put it around the tank area, just so the stuff will adhere. I didn't go get I have some peel ply that I was gonna put on top of this, but. So I'm just going to kind of wet it down really well. Take my composite here. I'm going to change the camera just a little bit, just make it easier. Be one of those follow you around kind of cameras, or do like some other people, have like friends do the videoing for them. There we go. Anyway, so I'm just going to We'll see how this works out. Never done the Kevlar before, so this may be a complete failure. So we'll see. I typically would just use Hysol with some cloth, but got some finishing resin, might as well use it. Because all I'm going to do is just recut the hole for this. So, alright, so there's that one. It's not pretty, but you know, the tanks aren't pretty anyways. So I'll come back and wipe some of this off. Make sure I don't get too far away from the hole. There we go. Alright, so there's that one. So this thing has 2 saddles and a main. It has massive tanks. And with the Zyco motors, anybody that has flown Zyco, they know that the motors are extremely efficient. So I had 2 120s in the last one, and I plumbed mine where the saddle tanks are kind of the main, and then the mains feed into the center, like this one big center tank, which I'll show you in a second. And I could fly 7 to 8 minutes and just got into the daggum, you know, like the mains. Each saddle tank, which would be the saddles are the mains though. Oops, let me take this back off. I need to. So, plenty of fuel. I actually was going to put a different main, like a center tank, because I had a smaller center tank that came with a different jet, but it's too thick. It just won't fit on top of the inlets, and between the inlets and the fuselage is just too narrow. So I'm going to have to put it, use the stock tank. I thought about actually, you know, cutting it down or something like that, but I'll just do like I did before. I just never used a taxi tank, and if I didn't have a weight issue and something that required extra fuel to wait to get out to fly, I would just fill it up to where the mains, the 2 saddles, which are the mains, were full, and then the center tank I would just do like half. Because after I usually fly, like I said, you're just getting into the saddle tanks when I'm done flying, so it holds way more fuel than you need. So I'm probably going to take some of this excess resin and go over this cloth where they didn't get it saturated. This is a lot. Okay, so that tank is done. Move it over here. Yeah, see, this guy is look at that, it's massive. I guess you could make this your main, and then these side as your like saddles. So these empty first into the main, but I did it the other way around. And then when I had a flame out, I actually didn't have to worry about fuel, because it would still pull the fuel out of this tank before it ever got to the main one. And this jet actually flies really well on a single engine. I was a little worried that the 120s were a little underpowered, but it's not. It was more than enough. I took off full of fuel. It flamed out right on takeoff. Flaps were kind of takeoff flaps. Gear were down. Didn't really know it until I was kind of turning to the downwind, crosswind, downwind. and it just wasn't accelerating. So put the gear up, and we were like, well, let's burn some fuel off, and we were trying to figure out which side was actually flamed out, and it was really hard to do. It took a while to figure out which side was actually flamed out. And so I flew it around, burned off the fuel, flew 6-7 minutes, and then I put the gear down, didn't put any flaps, because like I said, I was worried about the drag, because when this thing has gear down and flaps down, it gets real draggy. And I had to, you'd have to keep a lot of power in, even with twin engines. So I was worried that it wouldn't maintain altitude. So I didn't put any flaps down, but it did. It was fine. I put the gear down, no issues. So I went ahead and put half flaps versus the landing flaps, and I was able to actually gain altitude with flaps. Because I had to do, I tried to land, I was a little high, so I went around and came back around, no issues, and landed. So I was really happy with that. Because that was kind of the first time I had a twin ever flame out. So it is a easy jet to fly on single engine, so don't worry about that if you get one. But anyways, so this stuff doesn't lay down because it's so daggum thick. So thick. All right. Try to get some of this excess off because it's just extra weight. Alright. But, so that's it. Like I said, we're just putting patches on these things. Kind of a long-winded video, but making some progress finally. Like I said, now that I got the shop, I'm going to be doing a lot more builds, and eventually I will get to more of a professional type build. With the lights are great in here. I only have actually have some of them turned off, so it's not as bright, but the lighting's good. I'll get a better camera, and then once I have all my tables and stuff set up, can do more builds, and that's kind of what I'm planning to do, is do more with the builds and the channel and everything. So stay tuned, and this will probably be it for the night. I'm gonna go grab some more drinks and just chill out, and I'll hit it again tomorrow. So you guys take it easy, have a good night.